Yesterday I put out a video about hardening off some of the plants that I'd started to harden off. I had already hardened off my Gypsophilia, so I'm going to plant that out today, and I'm going to plant it in this pot here. I'm going to tart up this pot, and I'm also going to plant it around my ranuncular bed. So let's get into it. So I really liked this pot of grass and scrawny snapdragons and forget-me-nots. So I decided I was going to actually keep it and tart it up. I like the natural effect. So I was just going to take the grass out and then replace it with the Gypsophilia, which I've hardened off, so that it will kind of grow up here in a kind of airy mass. And then I'll put stocks around the snapdragons just in case the snapdragons don't flower. And then of course I've got the forget-me-nots there as well, just to create a kind of like a naturally drifted, self-seeded effect on the pot. I already liked the way it looked, even with the stupid grass in it, but obviously that's not satisfactory. So let's just replace it. So just started basically. This is obviously a really cost-effective way as well of potting up pots. Obviously it wouldn't work in a formal garden, but a cottage garden, it's going to be fine, I think. So I just ripped out the grass and then all the roots and broke up the soil and obviously enriched it with some new compost. And what I was thinking was, I like things that look natural, like they self-seeded and organised themselves, rather than everything always being uniform, matching, brand new. So you go to the shop, you buy a load of plants, you plant up the planter with all your new plants, and it looks amazing. Yes, of course it does, but I also want to go for something a little bit more quirky, a little bit more eccentric. So I like the fact that the snapdragons are already in here. They're spindly. I'm hoping if that they'll bulk out and start growing some flowers. And then I like the fact that the forget-me-nots are here also. So then what I want to do is just add some other flowers that I already have, which is the Gypsophilia and the stocks that I've grown and overwintered. Hardened off outside. I overwintered them in the greenhouse and hardened them off outside. And so I'm going to sort of add them to this kind of eccentric arrangement here. So it just looks more natural and less formal than something that's repetitious or matching and coordinated. So here you can see the Gypsophilia it's out of the tray now, and it's sort of all meshed together. The roots, it's been there far too long, all meshed together in a shallow tray. I should have potted them on long since, but I didn't. So rather than treat them all as individual plants and try to separate them all out, which will just damage all of them, I'm going to treat it as chunks and just cut off chunks from this mesh, and then plant up the chunks as and where I want to plant them. So I just planted a couple of chunks in the front of this pot here, and hopefully they will kind of rise up and sort of create a kind of almost like a misty cradle around the other plants, which is the snapdragons and the stocks. And by then, of course, the forget-me-nots will probably be over. And then we'll see how we go. And then I just planted, as you can see, the stocks. I'm just weaving the stocks in there in the central part, because they're going to be the sort of showstopper flowers with all the colour. So, and they'll grow nice and tall in the centre of the plant pot. And then the airy Gypsophilia will sort of cradle around them. And then hopefully also the snapdragons will also then flower above at some point. So it'll kind of be a succession of flowers, hopefully. And it's just an experiment. I mean, if you were to just go out and buy every single plant for all your pots, brand new from the garden centre or the DIY store, it's going to add up really fast. So this is a good way of just trying to save what you have, what's already self-seeded, and use it to your advantage. So then, of course, I watered it and found a nice sunny spot for it. And of course, I'll keep you posted on how that looks later on in the season. And then the next thing I needed to do was plant up the rest of the Gypsophilia, which I decided I was going to do around my ranuncular patch. And the reason for that is because I kind of have these bare spaces around the patch where the cover was. and so I haven't really planted anything outside the cover, and I thought it would be really nice to have the Gypsophilia, again that airy, light, beautiful white sparkly flower, sort of like bordering as though it had drifted also, not sort of all the way around in a big ring, formal ring, but just, you know, spots of Gypsophilia planted around the ranuncular patch, so that hopefully we'll get some really nice sparkly flowers around those as well. So this soil was already really nice because I'd already prepared this bed for the ranunculus anyway. So, but I did just add, as you can see there, a bit more compost. And again, I planted the Gypsophilia in the chunks rather than as individual plants, just to minimise the damage to the roots. And also because they've been growing for such a long time, they had developed a few weeds. So obviously I want to pick those out as well, sort of groom the kind of the whole turf, the Gypsophilia turf, before I plant it up. And before I plant things up, I do like to loosen the soil underneath, right quite a far way down into the bed, so that those roots can grow down, because they had been a bit root bound by that shallow tray. And then, as you can see, I just placed more around in an informal sort of pattern, so that they will hopefully grow in a kind of a drift effect around the ranunculus. And then, yeah, so here I am, as I say, just making sure that the soil is loose enough for those roots to start going down and anchoring down into the soil now, so that they can properly grow tall and do what they need to do. And because they were so shallow, I really wasn't digging them down that deep, and then just covered them back over with the soil and watered. So it was pretty easy. I mean, really, I don't even hardly need to explain it. But just because I have made the mistake, sometimes I've been too tired and I just have not loosened that soil enough. And you can really see the difference in the growth habit of the plant, especially with me on clay soil, because obviously it can be very compacted and dense. And you can really see that some plants do struggle to get their roots into soil like that. So it does pay to dig down and enrich a deep hole, much deeper hole than you think, and then that encourages the roots, however delicate and fine, to be able to anchor their way down into the soil and grow properly. And then I just watered them in, and I checked them the next day to see how they were doing. 24 hours later, and you can see already just looking, you know, much happier in this new home here, in the ground, basically. There's another one here. I did some more here, and some more this side here. So it should be really pretty when that comes out. And then I did some more over here. Let's see how these are doing. Yep, these are looking good too. These ones here, so hopefully they'll be filling out this pot. You can see them already. I feel like they've already grown new shoots pretty much in 24 hours. And then there's my stock. I thought I had 3 stocks. Yes, I do. So that's it for this video. Very quick Gypsophilia planted out, and I'm going to do the April 1st garden tour, which hopefully I'll have out for you tomorrow, and I'm just going to do the whole garden so that you can now see how different it is from the 1st of March to the 1st of April. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye.